Well, once those images of police clashing with the riot mob at the Capitol came out, civil rights advocates noticed something in those images. They say there was a stark contrast between the police presence outside the Capitol and the police presence we saw at racial injustice rallies over the summer. Attorney Chris Stewart says law enforcement managed to quickly mobilize during unplanned marches this summer, while multiple timelines of Wednesday's event show about 3.5 hours passed between the rioters when they began overwhelming police and the National Guard was finally brought in to help. During that time, rioters breached the Capitol and forced the evacuation of lawmakers.
Even during the peaceful marches that are organized and positive with family members, there are police officers in riot gear, tanks, more officers sometimes than the crowd, National Guard on standby. And I think the biggest issue is it's very clear of the distinct treatment that African Americans face when they are protesting or demonstrating. And that was missing in DC.
And we're not just hearing this from advocates, we're also hearing similar comments from you, our viewers. A Georgia native now living in Florida says she watched this summer's protest unfold across the country, and she was expecting much more aggressive an approach as people forced their way into the Capitol building.
Where's the tear gas, the rubber bullets, the barricades, the armored machinery? Where's the gear that seems to be the first line of defense whenever it was a Black Lives Matter protest versus what happened?
Another comparison being made to how Trump supporters were treated, the arrest of Senator-elect Raphael Warnock when he led a prayer in the Capitol Rotunda back in 2017. Warnock's arrest came while he and other religious leaders were protesting health care cuts in the budget. He was charged with crowding, obstruction, and causing an inconvenience. He was released after being held for 3 hours and paying a $50 fine.